All right. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the public portion of the inaugural event of the Corruption Networks and Transnational Crime Research Center, or CONTRA. I am Mark Rozelle. I serve as the Dean of the Schar School of Policy and Government here at George Mason University, and we host the CONTRA Center. This new center builds on the broader framework of the Schar School's commitment to rigorous policy-relevant and interdisciplinary scholarship on evolving security and governance challenges. The Schar School, we're proud to say, has been recognized by U.S. News & World Report as ranked number 4 in the country in Homeland Security Studies. We have a master's degree program in International Security Studies that is a signature of the Schar School, as well as an undergraduate degree program for 3 years now, growing in enrollment, called International Security and Law. We also host 2 very active centers, the Center for Security Policy Studies that is largely student-focused, holds various simulation exercises, study trips to battlefield, study trips to Korea, and academic symposia. And then the Michael V. Hayden Center is our public-facing security and intelligence center that holds high-level speaker and panel programs, including one, by the way, this Wednesday entitled Putin's Russia Today, with former CIA and State Department officials breaking down the strategies behind the headlines. We have over 300 people, by the way, signed up for attending that program Wednesday evening in the building next door, Van Meter Hall, in the auditorium at 7 p.m. There is still room to sign up and attend that program. I hope to see some of you there. On today's program, this is incredibly timely as U.S. policy toward transnational criminal organizations is undergoing important shifts, raising complex questions at the intersection of law enforcement, national security, and international cooperation. And I would like to say this conference represents what we do here at the Schar School, and that is provide a space for thoughtful, nonpartisan dialogue among scholars and practitioners. Our major benefactor, Dwight Schar, when he decided 10 years ago to invest in this school, expressed his wish for an impactful policy school that speaks both to academia and to various constituencies externally who need well-informed and nonpartisan analyses. To him, it's all about good government and good public policy, wherever that comes from, without regard to partisanship or ideology. And the diverse group of participants in today's conference represent that spirit as we continue to engage multiple perspectives on key public policy issues. So, my appreciation to all of you for taking the time from your very busy schedules to attend this conference. We do many public-facing programs here at the Schar School. Go to our website, you can see what we are doing, and we would love to have you attend all of them. They're free, open, and you'll learn a lot when you come here for those programs. So again, thank you, and I am delighted now to invite my colleague and co-director of the CONTRA Center, Guadalupe Correa Cabrera. Guadalupe.
Thank you, Professor Rozelle, Dean Rozelle, for your welcoming remarks. As one of the co-directors of the center, my other 2 colleagues and friends, one of them is not here anymore, but she was here. So distinguished colleagues, honored guests and friends, good morning and welcome. It's a privilege to welcome you to this conference, From Cartels to Combatants, the intense militarization of America's drug war, and to mark the public launch of the Corruption Networks and Transnational Crime Research Center, CONTRA. As co-director of the center, I'm especially pleased to reach this moment alongside my fellow co-directors, Professor Janine Bedell, Professor Naoru Kusumi, as well as our deputy director, Ursula Horoshko, whose intellectual leadership has been central to shaping this initiative. CONTRA is, from its inception, a collaborative and interdisciplinary endeavor, one grounded in the recognition that the study of transnational crime requires both analytical rigor and methodological breadth. Contra was not established simply to examine transnational crime as an isolated phenomenon. Rather, it seeks to analyze the broader systems, political, economic, and institutional, within which illicit networks emerge, operate, and evolve. Our point of departure is a simple but consequential observation. Transnational crime is not external to governance. It's embedded within it. Illicit networks develop within markets, legal frameworks, enforcement strategies, and geopolitical conditions. At the same time, state responses, whether regulatory, punitive, or military, do not merely constrain these networks. They reshape them. They alter incentives, they redistribute patterns of violence, they affect institutional capacity. And in some cases, they reproduce the very dynamics they seek to address. This reciprocal relationship lies at the core of Contra's research agenda. The center brings together perspectives from political science, law, criminology, and international relations, while also advancing methodological innovation. In addition to established qualitative and institutional approaches, Contra will make systematic use of advanced data analysis, social network analysis, and machine learning to better understand the structure and evolution of illicit networks and the effects of policy interventions. This integration of conceptual and methodological approaches is central to our work. It also informs the central theme of today's conference. The title, From Cartels to Combatants, points to a significant development in US policy. The 2025 designation of transnational criminal organizations as foreign terrorist organizations represents more than a legal adjustment. It reflects a shift in how certain forms of organized crime are conceptualized, moving from a law enforcement framework toward one more closely associated with national security. Such a shift raises important and complex questions. What are the legal parameters of this approach? How does it affect international cooperation and diplomatic practice? What are its implications for governance, institutional development, and patterns of violence in the Western Hemisphere? More broadly, it invites us to reflect on the evolving relationship between crime and security, and on the conditions under which states expand the scope of their authority. These are not questions with simple or immediate answers. They require careful analysis, empirical grounding, and sustained dialogue. That is the purpose of this conference, and it is the broader mission of Contra. We aim to provide a space for rigorous nor partisan inquiry, and one that does not seek to advance predetermined conclusions, but rather to clarify assumptions, examine evidence, and deepen understanding. This commitment to analytical independence is fundamental. Contra is and will remain a non-partisan academic center. We welcome a plurality of perspectives and approaches, and we view intellectual diversity not as a challenge to be managed, but as a condition for meaningful scholarship. It's through the careful engagement of different viewpoints, tested through evidence and reasoned argument, that more robust and nuanced understanding emerge. This conference also takes place at a meaningful institutional moment as part of the 10th anniversary of the Schar School of Policy and Government. Over the past decade, the school has established itself as a venue for the interdisciplinary, policy-relevant scholarship on governance and security. Today's discussion reflects that tradition. Over the same period, U.S. counter-narcotics and security policy has evolved considerably, expanding authorities, redefining institutional roles, and introducing new strategic frameworks. These developments have created new possibilities, but also new complexities. The panels that follow will examine these dynamics from multiple perspectives: the operational and diplomatic implications of current policy, the first panel; the legal frameworks that structure it, the second panel; and the third panel, the broader strategic and geopolitical consequences of increasingly securitized approaches to organized crime. Let me conclude with a brief reflection. If the transformation from cartels to combatants signals a shift in how we understand transnational crime, it also compels us to examine how states define and exercise power in response to it. The task, analytical, empirical, and inherently interdisciplinary, is at the core of Contra's mission. We're grateful to have you here as part of this inaugural conversation. Welcome to Contra, and thank you. And let me thank you to people that were fundamental for the organization of this conference. Deputy Director Ursula Horosco, without her and her very arduous work, this would have never happened. So thank you, Ursula, for 3 months of very hard work to make this happen, and for managing everything, all the operations of the center and everything that you do. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ursula. And another person, a very good friend, colleague, and the godfather of Contra, I would say, Alan Bersin. I met Alan Bersin in the year 2013 in the Rio Grande Valley when he was, for the second time, border czar of this country, the first border czar that existed in the country. And I was a professor at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley then. I was living at the border, just almost, 100, not 100 meters, but less than 20 meters from the line. And I met Alan. And Alan, really, really helped us every single day for 3 months to make this happen. Thank you, Alan, for your support, for the support that you get given the center as well, our students. Thank you for always being part of also George Mason University, because you have been invited and you have presented with my students. Thank you, and we hope to have you continuously in the activities of the center. And thank you, and welcome to George Mason University once again. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. And, Sorry, now we are going to have my other co-director, Naoru Koizumi, that's going to explain one of the activities of this center. And also she brings to this center something very special, which is the methodological rigor and a completely reframing of the methodologies that you will use to study organized crime. Artificial intelligence, social network analysis, and data analysis are going to be central in the study of corruption and transnational organized crime. Thank you, Dr. Koizumi, for being part of this. Thank you for all your support and for your friendship.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I have to echo Dr. Guadalupe Correa Cabrera that it's been a pleasure to work with Alan and Ula. This has been a very nice experience for me. So I just want to provide a few brief remarks as a co-director of the center, but also as a data scientist in this inaugural event. As Dr. Correa Cabrera mentioned, one of our core missions is to develop and apply analytical tools to better understand both illicit and licit networks that facilitate and sustain transnational crime and shadow economy. So in support of that mission, we are experimenting with an activity that complements today's event. Specifically, we are developing a so-called multi-agent AI debate system that simulates panel discussions with distinguished speakers like those we have here for today's event. So my students and coworkers who are sitting behind in this room have carefully curated academic and professional profiles and backgrounds of each speaker today. And our goal is to see how well AI can anticipate their perspective in the discussions we are about to hear today. These multi-agent AI systems work best when discussions reflect diverse and balanced viewpoints, and today's panel discussions will be a great example of that. So we will be hosting a brown bag seminar in April to share more about this type of work, and I hope to see you there if you are interested in this type of work. So thank you so much again, and I hope you will have a great rest of the day today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Koizumi. Now we are going to invite Andrew Glaser, a documentary filmmaker. He directed and produced the documentary film Bad Hombres. And now he is going to show us a little bit of his work that is going to be presented globally very, very soon. And he's going to talk more about his documentary film, The Spring of the Vanishing, about the effects of the militarization of America's drug war. Thank you, Andrew, for being here, and we're welcome to George Mason University.
Hi, everyone, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to such an accomplished and esteemed group of experts and academics and practitioners. I think Ula and Guadalupe invited me because my film is maybe a cautionary tale of what happens when you deploy military to do law enforcement activities. It comes out in a few weeks, April 15th, which is almost 8 years to the day on when 18-year-old American citizen, U.S. citizen, Jorge Dominguez crossed the border from Laredo, Texas into Nuevo Laredo, Mexico, in Tamaulipas, and soon disappeared. And his mother did what you're supposed to do when your child disappears. She started raising hell, knocking on doors, going to the U.S. consulate, going to a local human rights organizer, and she soon learned that he was one of dozens of people who had gone missing over a few weeks in the spring of 2018. And initially, everyone was blaming the local cartel, the Zetas offshoot, Cartel Noreste. But through relentless pressure, protests, knocking on doors, pounding the pavement, the wives and the mothers and some human rights activists ultimately determined that it was a unit of the Mexican Marines that had received training and arms from the US and intelligence from the DEA, and they had made a lot of innocent people disappear. It was the result of these mothers and wives, their pressure that led, I believe, this is not confirmed, but led the head of Mexico's Navy, which I can confirm, he came to the main Zocalo, the main square in Nuevo Laredo, and apologized and admitted the human rights violation. I believe that was the first time that's ever happened in Mexico, where the military acknowledged and apologized for human rights violations. They arrested 30 Marines as a result, and a few weeks later, all but I think 2 of the Marines were released when no one was looking. So we've been working on this film for 5 years, and it will be on iTunes and Amazon on April 15th, and I hope people will seek it out. I'll leave some postcards with a QR code for a link to rent or buy it. Here's a trailer, I think. Is it ready to go? Yeah. I think the audio is
Since he was a baby, his dad named him Papas. He was a mama's boy. Ilumina su camino donde quiera que él esté. Since he was a baby, his dad named him Papas. He was a mama's boy. He would be always hugging me, kissing me.
Desde el bello municipio de Nuevo Laredo, en Tamaulipas, está María Elena Domínguez. Dime qué fue lo que pasó, María Elena, cuando tu hijo Jorge Antonio Hernández Domínguez desapareció.
In Nuevo Laredo, a reign of terror. This small city, the murder and kidnap capital of Mexico.
Because of these cartel wars, people were asking for the military because they see it as the only force that is going to save them.
We saw them as perhaps one of the best law enforcement security partners in Mexico.
I was meeting the other ladies. My son is missing. My husband is missing.
They took my statement and they literally just threw it to the side when I finished. They were like, oh, this is number 14.
Son instituciones de gobierno que están confabuladas entre ellos.
Yo sí, les tengo mucho miedo.
Fueron los marinos. No hay duda que fueron ellos. Yo los miré.
Dice, allá está uno muerto, tirado. Pinche perro de mierda, pues nomás dijo.
Y les preguntamos qué pasó. Es que se llevaron a mi familia, se llevaron a mi hijo, se llevaron a mi esposo. Y luego, ¿por qué no las han atendido? No nos quieren atender. ¿Cómo que no las quieren atender?
Hay cuenta que por enfrente te pasa toda la vida. Si voy a regresar o no voy a regresar. Si me van a dejar viva o me van a matar, o sea, no sabía.
At the end of the day, an enforced disappearance is one of those crimes where you can say, well, literally, see no evil, hear no evil. I mean, there's, what's going on? We didn't do it. Unfortunately for the perpetrators, there is always a trace of evidence.
¡Ojalá que los entierren! ¡Los odio! ¡Negrito!
Papas, where are you? I know you're there. I'm coming for you.
So I will leave postcards here, which has QR code and also contact information. We'll be doing lots of screenings around. That's how you have to distribute documentaries these days. It's not so easy to get distribution on the main networks, especially when it's a political film, which this is. But I will leave postcards. I hope people will be in touch, and I hope people will see the film. Thanks very much for the invitation.
We'll soon begin our first panel. We have time until 1:15 to take a break. There's some coffee and tea and refreshments in the adjacent room. I just wanted to also announce that the bathrooms are also through here, not just in that side, but also through here. So enjoy the break and see you at 1:15.